Right, in this class, we'll be discussing about a representation of a multi-dimensional arrays in memory. So we have seen how do we represent the one-dimensional arrays. The representation of one-dimensional arrays we have seen in memory. That is, one-dimensional arrays are represented by using consecutive memory locations. This is how we represent the one-dimensional arrays. That means if this is having memory address 101, the next element will have 102 and 104 and so on. If it is an integer array, that is how we represent one-dimensional array. They'll occupy consecutive memory locations. And specifically when you go for multi-dimensional array, we will use the two-dimensional arrays very frequently. Among the multi-dimensional arrays, two-dimensional arrays are more frequently used in our programming aspects. So to represent two-dimensional arrays, that is nothing but a matrix-like structure. Two-dimensional array is nothing but a matrix which contains certain rows and some columns. In fact, two-dimensional arrays are also stored in the memory in a linear fashion only. But for our understanding purpose, we consider them in the form of rows and columns. So there are two different approaches for representing two-dimensional arrays. The first one is row major order, in which we are going to store the elements row-wise, starting from the rows. And another one is column major order, in which we are going to represent the elements in a two-dimensional array, column by column. That's what is column major order. The term itself will explain. So these are the two representations. But for understanding this, we need to have one matrix which is not here. So we need to have one two-dimensional array. I will just try to represent it because we have space here. I'll just try to utilize that. Right. This is just a matrix. It is a matrix which contains 3 rows and 3 columns. 3 rows and 3 columns. So when we have such matrix, these are the indices what they are using. First column, second column, third column. First row, second row, and third row. Right? When we have such matrix, how do we identify this element? This element is identified by first row and first column. This element is identified by first row, second column. This is identified by first row, third column. This is identified by second row, first column. This is, but in terms of programming, we'll be starting the index from 0. But for representation purpose, for understanding purpose, we are starting index value from 1. So this element is present in the location second row, second column. This is present in second row, third column. This location is identified by third row, first column. This is third row, second column, third row, third column. In fact, these are the index values what we have represented. But while representing, we'll be storing actual elements. So how do we represent in case of this is what is column major order. The first one is what happens in column major order. The elements of a two-dimensional matrix are represented column by column starting from left to right. Column by column starting from left to right. So that is how they are represented. That means if you take the first column, what is first column? 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1. This first column is placed here. That is 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1. That is the first column. Take the entire first column and represent it in the memory, because this is nothing but an array which contains 3 rows and 3 columns. Now the second column will be taken and represented. What is second column? 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2. 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 2. That is the elements of a two-dimensional matrix are represented column by column, starting from left column to the right column. That means go from left to right. Then take the third column and represent it. That is what is the column major order. This is representation of a 3 cross 3 array in by using column major order. Similarly, row major order. So in row major order, what happens? The rows are represented. One row is taken at a time, but in this case, we represent the rows from top to bottom. That means take the entire row. This first row is represented, row 1. What row 1 contains? 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. That is, rows are taken from top to bottom, and in every row the elements are represented from left to right in every row. So 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. Then 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. So take this and represent it here in the memory. Then take third row, and this is what is third row. So this is how the elements are represented in row measure order. In column measure, one column at a time, that is from left to right. And in row measure, one row at a time from top to bottom. So that is how we represent the elements by using row measure order and column measure order. And when we have a single dimensional array, when we have said a single dimensional array, we were able to find the address of any given location. We were able to find address of any given location. What was the formula for that? Base address for this array, that is what is starting address, into what is the index value where you want to find the location, index, into multiplied by what is the word length. That means how many bytes an integer is taking. If an integer is taking 2 bytes, then we used to calculate with this formula. Say for example, base address for this is what? This formula I implemented. This base address for this is 100 plus. What is the word length? That means what is the word length? What is the memory taken by the integer? So if it is 2 multiplied by, so which location you want to find? So assume I want to find this location. Its address is 108, 100, 102, 104, and 108. That means when you execute this, to which index we want to find? 0, 1, 2, 3. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. A fourth index. We want to find the element which is located at the fourth index. What is the formula? When you solve this, what will we get? 108. So that is the memory location of the element, whichever we want to find. So this was the concept which we used in case of one-dimensional array. Similarly, we can go for two-dimensional arrays also. So what is the formula for multi-dimensional array? Specifically in this case, it is for two-dimensional array. If you want to find the location of any element which is located at ith row and jth column, there is a fixed formula. How to identify? At these are all these horizontal entities will indicate rows and vertical entities will indicate columns. That means if you want to find address of any element which is present at ith row and jth column, what is the formula? This is what is the formula. Base address as usual. The what we know, B is base address, and W is the word length or the size of the data element which is being stored in the array. Then N indicates how many columns are there. This is an example for row measure implementation. Whenever you are implementing the row measure, then you have to consider number of columns. Whenever you are implementing column measure, then you have to consider number of rows. That's it. There are two different formulas. This is for row measure and this is for column measure. Then I always indicates the index value for the row. J always indicates the index value for the column. This is what we are assuming always. I always indicates for the rows and J always indicates for the column. This is predefined assumptions what we are doing throughout the course. And LBR indicates the lower bound for the row index. That means what is the minimum index value for the row. LBC indicates lower bound for the column. That is what is the minimum index value for the column. Minimum index value for the column. So these are the usually the minimum index for these rows and columns are 0, 0 in our case, because indexing we are starting from the 0th location. Only required thing here is base address and word length. If these two are given, we can write easily the memory location. Similarly, this formula is for column measure order. So one example is there which will help us to realize this. Consider a 10 cross 12 matrix. That means there is a matrix which is having 10 rows and 12 columns. So there are 10 rows, roughly I'll draw it, and then 12 columns. 10 rows are there, 12 columns are there. Okay, it's an assumption given to us. implemented using obviously the two-dimensional array which contains 10 rows and 12 columns. This is what is our A. This is what is our A. Now, if the base address for this entire array is 200, so what is being given to us? The very first element of this two-dimensional array, it is starting at the location 200. That is given to us. It is given that the entire two-dimensional matrix is starting at the address value of 200. That is the assumption. And word length is also given. What is the word length? Every data is taking 2 bytes of memory location. Every data is taking 2 bytes of memory location. That is also given. So W is also given. W is also given. Base address is also given. What is base address? That is 200. Base address is 200. Right? What is I? What is I? I means number of rows. I is 10. 10 rows. What is J? J is 12, 12 columns. So all the entities are given to us. Everything is given. Now what you have to find is you have to find the address of this element. That is the element located in the 4th row and 7th column. So element located in somewhere in this 4th row and 7th column. So somewhere this element, roughly. You want to find address of this particular element. Just substitute those values and you'll get the result. So for this given formula, base address we have written it as 200. Word length is 2, which is given. Now n means how many columns are there. How many columns are there in our matrix? That is also given. 12 columns are there. Minus I. What is the row index that they have asked? They have told that we have to find the location of element which is present in the 4th row and 7th column. So I is 4. Lower bound which is being assumed here as 1. So lower bound which is being assumed here as 1, because in this explanation also they have assumed lower bound as 1. So if you assume lower bound as 0, then you have to mention that lower bound is being assumed as 0. Now default explanation purpose, for understanding purpose, the lower bound for both row and column is taken as 1. That means this first element is starting at first row, first column, second row, third column, fourth, and so on. This is second row, third row, fourth row, and so on. They have started like this. So next, J, what is the column value for the element? Column value is 7 minus what is the lower bound for column? Lower bound for column is 1. So when you substitute and calculate this, we'll get the address as 284. This is how we find the address of any given element in the two-dimensional matrix. Now the one more application of two-dimensional arrays is the basic entity called matrix. So two-dimensional arrays are more frequently used to implement matrices, to implement different operations on the matrices. Because we are going to assume that the rows are identified by the row index and columns are identified by the column index. Because usually the two-dimensional array consists of, if it is an A, it consists of certain rows and it consists of certain columns. That means this is called as first subscript, and this is called as second subscript. First subscript is always used to indicate the rows in the two-dimensional array. Second subscript is always used to indicate the columns in the two-dimensional array. So the figure will help us to understand how the matrix can be implemented. So see, it is simply a matrix which consists of 3 rows and 4 columns. It's simply a matrix which consists of 3 rows and 4 columns. So here the assumption is being made that the rows will start from 0th row, first row and second row. 0th column, first column, second column and third column, and these are the corresponding elements. That is, this element is identified by first row and second column. That means this element is present in the first row and second column. These are represented, this we have represented only subscripts. Only subscripts are there, not the actual elements. But in fact, there will be actual elements during the real-time implementation. So this is just an, let's see, it is given here. The subscript values for the each element in the matrix of 3 rows and 4 columns. Now let us see one simple example program for implementation of the matrix. That is the same 3x3 matrix, and this is where we are declaring the matrix. That is M is a matrix which consists of 3 rows and 4 columns. So we are going to realize the matrix, implementation of the matrix. It is some matrix, say M, which is being assumed to have, right, 3 rows and 3 columns. Right, this much space is sufficient for explanation. Okay, 0 1 2, 0 1 2, right? So this is what is the impact when we write this. I and j variables are declared and matrix is also declared. So now we are asking user to enter the elements of the matrix. Enter the elements of 3x3 matrix. That means 3x3 means you have to enter 9 elements. Totally you have to enter 9 elements. Whatever you element first you enter, that will be represented in this location. Because for reading and displaying, we are assuming that they are taken from first row to last row. First row, second row, third row. And then in every row, take the elements from left to right. That is the assumption which is being made. That's why the I index is always made. I index is always made to point to rows. So though you know this how the for loop works, I'll briefly explain this. The inner for loop will always point to the columns. So outer for loop is for the rows and inner for loop is for the columns. Right? Now we're just in initializing I to 0 and then j to 0. That means we want to read this element I 0 and j as 0. Obviously condition is true, then this will be simply, it will simply prompt the user, that is enter the matrix element M of 0 0, M of 0 0. That means I is 0 and j is 0. It will first prompt the user to enter the first element, and then whatever you enter, so let us assume that you are entering 1. The numbers what we are giving as 1 to 9. So if you enter 1, 1 will be scanned and stored in the location. In which location? At the address of M of ij. That means 0th row and 0th column. At the address of 0th row and 0th column, what will be stored? 1 will be stored. You are entering 1 for the first time. Next, what happens? How the for loop works? The j will be incremented. Only inner for loop will complete first. We will not go for the outer for loop. We will not go for the outer for loop. Inner for loop is meant for the rows. Inner for loop is meant for the columns. Outer for loop is meant for the rows. Right? Now, j will be incremented. J becomes 1. That means I want to read this element. See here, I want to read this particular element. So is there a synchronization between audio and video? Can someone respond me? Are you getting the content till now properly? Is there any disturbance?
No, sir.
All right. Okay. Right. So j will become 1. When j becomes 1, the control will be again. We will be checking it against the condition. What is that? If j is less than 3, yes, condition is true. Then enter into the for loop. Again, prompt will be given. We are prompting to user enter the element M of 0 1, because I is 0, j is 1. Enter this element we are asking, and you will be giving element as 2. If you are giving element, because we are assuming that you are giving element from 1 to 9. If you are giving 2, where that 2 will be stored? Store that 2. Scan the integer from the keyboard. Store at the address of M of 0 1. Store at the address of M of 0th row first column. That is 2 will get stored here. Next, j will be incremented. The j becomes 2. 2 is less than 3. Condition is true. Then again prompt the user to enter the 0th row and second column. The element to be located at 0th row and second column. Then say if you are entering 3, 3 will be stored where? At the address of 0th row second column. At the address of 0th row second column, 3 will be saved. Now again the j will be incremented, j becomes 3, check the condition, j is less than 3, condition fails. That means now we are coming out of the inner for loop. Now we are coming out of the inner for loop. And once we come out of the inner for loop, we will go for the modifier part of the outer for loop. So what is for outer for loop modifier part? I plus plus. We are simply incrementing the value of I. I was 0 here, now I becomes 1. Now I becomes 1. Now 1 is less than 3, condition is true. Again execute the whole inner for loop. Now we execute again the whole inner for loop. Right. For the index I1 now. Why? Because we want to receive the elements for the next row. Again this will repeat, start from 0 again. What happens? Now j will be again initialized to 0. Check the condition, then next scan the element which is present at which location, first row and 0th column, because I is 1, j is 0. So this is how it will go on repeating. I hope this has been explained many times, the working of for loops, inner and external. So what I will assume that further it is not required to complete the explanation part. I'll assume that 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 elements have been successfully read onto the matrix. These are the elements of the matrix. And next thing what we are simply doing, we are printing the elements of the matrix. Same way we are using outer for loop for pointing to the rows, and this is just for making sure that it will be printed in the form of matrix. We are just giving some indentation. For if you skip this, what happens, all the elements will be displayed together. You will not get the feel of matrix. That's why some rows and some tabs and some backslash n is being given between every rows. Now this is for inner for loop for columns, and simply here we were scanning, and here we are simply printing those elements from the corresponding row value and from the corresponding column value. This is how the matrices can be realized by using two-dimensional arrays. Matrices can be realized by using two-dimensional arrays. Okay, it's 4.6. I'll just give the demonstration so that it gives the accuracy. Existing system, 1 second, DSIE, it was 4.6 example program. Right, this is the program whatever just we have gone through. Right, I'll just run the program. I'll just run the program. Right, enter the elements of 3 cross 3 matrix. So as I said, it will first prompt us to enter the 0th row and 0th column. Element to be placed in 0th row and 0th column. So what I will give it as 1. Next 0th row first column 2. Enter the element at 0th row second column 3. Then first row 0th column 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have entered all the elements, and it is simply representing what is that the matrix represented by the 3 cross 3 2D array is, what is that, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. So what we have done in this example is simply we have read 3 rows and 3 columns of data, and we are displaying the elements. Right, this is how the two-dimensional array was working. Now let us see some of the operations which we can perform on matrices. That means the extended applications of two-dimensional arrays. So once we have the matrix, this is the simple mathematics what we are doing now: addition, subtraction, multiplication, and transpose. Right. So let us see addition. How do we add two matrices? We add two matrices by adding their corresponding elements. That is very simple in case of addition and subtraction. If this is the matrix A, and this is matrix B, how do you add to get the matrix C? What we do? this element plus this element will be the resultant value. That is A1 plus B1 will get the result. This is the result of A plus B. Next, how do we get the second element? A2 plus B2 will get the second element. A3 plus B3, yes, third element. A4 plus B4, next element. A5 plus B5. I think this is the mathematics part. I need not tell you why it is, because that is the rule of the mathematics what we are following for addition. Next, add this and this. This we have to write the code or implementation for that. A7 plus B7 will be resultant value. A8 plus B8 will be resultant value in the matrix. A9 plus B9 will be resultant value. That is simply how we do. Similarly, if you want to go for subtraction, it will be A1 minus B1 and A2 minus B2 and so on. This is just the code for implementation. So many disturbances I am getting, because you at the receiving end you will be simply muting and listening to the classes, but from my end so many arrangements we have to do. 1 second. Because if I close everything, I will not get proper network. That is the problem. If I open the windows, then disturbance will come. Write a program for performing addition of two matrices. We are just trying to realize the program which is going to add two matrices. So just we are declaring the matrices A, B, and C. We will read the matrix elements. Just now we have discussed in the previous program how do we read the elements of a matrix. We are reading, this code is for reading all the elements of the matrix A. I think I need not explain you this once again. Just now we have seen that program here. So how we read the elements, the same code is being rewritten here. This will read all the elements of matrix A by using two for loops we are reading. Similarly, we are reading all the elements of matrix B. Now this is where we are displaying all the elements as well. This is also not essential, not required for explaining once again, because we are just displaying values of the matrices. Outer for loop for rows and inner for loops for columns. Within the single outer for loop, both the matrices are being displayed. What it does here is it will display matrices side by side. It will display matrices side by side. That is, for every value of j, we are displaying the value, first a value of the matrix A. Then we are giving two tabs here. See here, we are giving two tabs. That means if the first matrix element you have given something like this, 1, 2, I'll give the demonstration, the things will be clear later. I'll give the demonstration. So what it will do, it will just display the element of matrix A. If it is 1, then after that what we are giving two tabs. That means somewhere here space, then it will display the elements of matrix B. If assume that the elements for matrix A you have given from 1 to 9 and elements of matrix B you have given from 9 to 1. That's it. For simplicity, I'll assume this. Then what it will display for again J, because after this again the inner follow will be changing. J will be again initialized to 0. It will be overwritten. Then we are displaying the element present in B of ij. So this is somewhere I'll display 9, because for B we have entered from 9 to 1. Similarly, this for loop will repeat. The inner for loops will repeat. What it will do? It will display something like this: 1, 2, 3. This code, first row of matrix A. Then this code, what it will do? First row of matrix B. What is matrix B? 9, 8, 7. Then again, outer for loop will be incremented. I will become 1. That means second row we are concentrating now for both matrix A and matrix B. Right? Now, after 1, 2, 3, what are the elements in matrix A? Second row element 4, 5, 6. And here, what were the elements? 9, 8, 7. After that, what will come? Yes, 6, 5, 4. Then again, outer for loop will be incremented. I becomes 1. So this is just the normal repetition of whatever we have discussed just now. So don't think that something is being skipped here. This is same part which is being explained. Because wherever it is essential, I will take more time for the explanation. Right, next row it will be showing what? After 4, 5, 6, then next row is 7, 8, 9 for matrix A, And similarly for matrix P, what are the elements? After 4 we'll get 3 to 1. So this is the scenario. What we have assumed is for matrix A you have given elements from 1 to 9. For matrix B you have given elements from 9 to 1. And this is simply the code for what? Addition. This is where actually we perform the addition of two matrices. Addition of two matrices. Outer for loop is for rows of both the matrices. Inner for loop is for columns of both the matrices. That means this is A, matrix A, and this is what is matrix B. This is matrix A and this is matrix B. 0 1 2 0 1 2 0 1 2 0 1 2, right? So these are the two matrices what we have read. Now how do we perform addition? So I will start with 0, again J will start with 0. You can trace this code in detail later. So I'll explain few iterations. I in 0, both are 0. The condition is true. C of ij means the addition of these two I am writing somewhere here. So if you assume this as C matrix, which will store the sum of these two. Which will store the sum of these two. 0, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2. Now, how do you find this element? We know that this element is sum of this element and this element. We know that C of 0, 0 is nothing but sum of A of 0, 0 and B of 0, 0. So that is what is the code written, very simple code. What is that? A of ij, obtain A of ij. What is A of ij? Yes, 1 second. What is A of ij? A of 0, 0 is what? A of 0, 0 is 7. See here in this case. Not 7, it must be 1. Not 7, it is 1. A of 0, 0 is 1 plus. What is B of 0, 0? B of 0 is 0, 0 is 9. So 1 plus 9 is what? 10. So where it will be stored? It will be stored in C of 0, 0. So that means 10 we have got. Similarly, the inner for loop will be incremented. J will be incremented. J becomes 1. So what is A of 0, 1? A of 0, 1 is 2. This is how it will go on adding the elements. A of 0, 1. Because I is 0, J is 1. A of 0, 1 is what? A of 0, 1 is 2 plus B of 0, 1 is what? B of 0, 1 is 8. 2 plus 8 is what? 10. So 10 will be stored in C of 0, 1. Next, what happens? Next thing is J will be incremented. J becomes 2. J becomes 2. Now check the condition. 2 is less than 3. Condition is true. Enter into the inner for loop. Calculate, obtain this. Calculate the RHS. What is A of 0, 2? A of 0, 2 is what? 3. A of 0, 2 is 3 plus. What is B of 0, 2? B of 0, 2 is 7. 3 plus 7 is what? 10. Where 10 will be stored? 10 will be stored in C of 0, 2. C of 0, 2 will get a value of 10. Right? J will be incremented to 3. Condition fails, we will come out of the inner for loop. Now we will go for incrementing the modifier part of the outer for loop. Now we will go for the outer for loop. What becomes? I becomes 1. Now I was 0. Now I becomes 1. Check the condition. Yes, it is true. Again enter into the for loop. J will be again varying from 0 to 3. So start again J from 0. True. Obtain this value. What is that? A of ij. I is 1, J is 0. A of 1, 0 is what? A of first row 0th column is 4 plus B of first row 0th column. B of first row 0th column is what? 6. Yes, what is this? 10. 10 will be stored in this location. This is how it will go on and it will find the sum for all the elements. Hope the resultant is 10, 10. Everywhere will get 10, 10. Addition of two matrices. This is how the addition is being done and this is simply we are displaying again the matrix elements, displaying the matrices. I'll try to give one demonstration program 4.7. Matrix which we have seen just now, the program. And now we are asking user to enter the elements of matrix A. So whatever the input values for matrix A, we had given 1 to 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Elements of matrix B are 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right? What is the sum? Two matrices are being displayed with the tab and backslash n, so that for simplicity, A, B, and this is the resultant matrix. That is how the applications of two-dimensional arrays are. Right? Realization of the matrices. Similarly, subtraction, I think I need not go for explaining. The same thing, A minus P, A minus 2, and we'll do. Similarly, the code for multiplication. What is the logic for multiplication here is, we know that to obtain the resultant element of A and B, what we do, how we do, you multiply first row of the first matrix, first column of the second matrix. That means this is the mathematics part. I think I need not go more depth in this one. Just the mathematical part of the matrix. A1 into B1 plus A2 into B4 plus A3 into B7. That means this row, this column will give us the first element of the resultant matrix. First element of the resultant matrix. Next, to obtain this location, what do we do? First row of the first matrix, second column of the first matrix. That is A1 into B2 plus A2 into B5 plus A3 into B8. We'll get the next element, and so on for all the elements. This is what is the mathematics, and simply you can write the code for this multiplication. Same way how we have written code just now. For addition, for multiplication we have to write the same thing, but one more for loop will be used here. That means three levels of for loop will be using, because we know that a matrix multiplication result is always given by C of ij, that is resultant value is given by C of present value of C of ij plus A of ik into B of kj, which I'll show it in the code now, plus A of ik into B of kj. Why? Because to find this, I'll explain for one element, the things will be clear, right? To find this C, we have to always consider the present iteration. That is, the result of this entire thing is dependent on three smaller components. What are the three smaller components? This is component number 1, this is component number 2, and this is component number 3. Sum of all those three smaller components, we are getting the value for the first element. Similarly, this also involves three components. This is intermediate result 1, intermediate result 2, intermediate result 3. Sum of all those three will get the resultant value. That's why we need another for loop. Other than the rows and other than the columns, we need one more for loop to store these inner intermediary results. So how that I'll just show you. So what we'll do, we are reading the elements of matrix A in this code, which is the repeated part, same part what we have seen. Reading the elements of matrix B, again it is the same, and we are displaying both the elements of matrix A and B, and this is where the multiplication part what I told. That means outer for loop is for rows, this is for columns, and this is C of ij's intermediary result. C of ij's intermediary result, and K we are considering as holding the intermediary values, So multiplication is given by C of ij, that is present, whatever is the present value, plus A of ik into B of kj. This is the simple mathematics and simple flow of for looping. You can iterate through, and you can practice with some example. Take some 3x3 matrix and go on iterating this, you will get the result. That is, assume some matrix A and assume some matrix B, and this is the resultant matrix C. That means 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1 1. Everywhere if you assume some numbers, then we'll get the resultant value. So I'll C of ij is equal to 0. It is being assumed here. I'll iterate one example. I'll show you how it works. K is equal to 0. Start from K is equal to 0. Then calculate this part. What is A of 0 0? A of 0 0 is what? A of this is 0 0 0 0. That is 0 1 2 0 1 2 0 1 2 and 0 1 2. A of 0 0 is what? 0 0 is 1. That means I am calculating this C of 0 0. Calculating this C of 0th row 0th column. That is given by 0. Present value is 0 plus A of ik. A of 0 0 is what? 1 into what is B of kj? B of kj is also 1. So what is the resultant of this? 1. This is temporary result, because how do we get the entire result? Entire result is given by this entire first row, then this entire first column. That's why we have to keep the intermediary result. And when k gets incremented, then we will be concentrating on the next column. That means the next row of the matrix B. So that's why we need this inner for loop for storing. So you can iterate through all these variables, just go on, increment the indices and just imagine this. That is a very simple tracing part. So wherever required, I'll spend the time. Transpose is also very simple. How do you find the transpose of a matrix? Transpose is just simply given by converting rows into columns and columns into rows. That is what is transpose. And what is the logic for this? Very simple logic is, wherever A of ij is there, if you want to transpose it, then it will become T of ji. That's it. Very simple. For all the elements in the matrix A of ij, make them to for all the elements in A of ij, just make them to T of ji. Rows will be converted into columns in the resultant matrix. That is the simple logic. This is, we are reading the matrix and we are displaying the matrix, display part. This is the same what we have seen. Now, this is where we are trying to find the transpose. How do you find the transpose? As I said, the transpose of A of ij. That means A of ij is given by A of ji. So here I told reverse, and here they have taken other way. That is also same. That means every column element in the matrix will be taken as row element. Just the ij will be made as ji, then it will become ij in the transpose. That means row will become the column index, column will become the row index, and that is how we find the transpose. Here nothing else we are doing. We are simply taking the elements and copying to the destination array. Read the elements from one two-dimensional array and just copy them to destination array. That's what we are doing. And next we are simply displaying the matrices, two-dimensional matrices. So these were some of the examples or implementation of two-dimensional arrays, and specifically in case of matrices.